and gentlemen, we have some very interesting, juicy information that's going underneath our radar. I took a moment. I actually was on my downtime really scrolling through Instagram, looking at certain articles, and I found about this influencer and who is a certified relationship coach who has a very deep background in psychology. Actually, he graduated with a major, Bachelor's of Arts in Psychology out of Drexel University. And he goes by the name of the Q Pill on YouTube. And he's actually just spit some very important information when it comes to certain detractors, actually challenging some of his theories that he has. All this goes about when I agree with some of the theories that he has going on later on. But he was discussing more about him basically being smarter than actually 99.9% of Americans, or even people around the world mainly are, basically when discussing this topic based on his claim when it comes to a statistic that he mainly brought out straight from the General Social Survey. I believe it's the GSS for short. In which we have a writer by the name of Alexander that works in DatePsychology.com actually purposed an article based off of it. Before I continue, let me actually go dig on what Mr. Q has to say.
I recently did a video explaining why men and women can't truly be platonic friends, and of course the idiots had to slide in my comment section trying to give me their anecdotal experiences and subjective perceptions of what friendship means, and how I have a girl that I'm friends with that I'm not attracted to, and how I know a guy and we're friends and I'm not attracted to him, trying to tell me all this bullshit. Fuck the fact that I'm statistically more intelligent, logical, and objective than 99% of the population. Fuck the fact that I have a degree in psychology, have been studying for nearly a decade, and that I'm a certified relationship coach. This apparently does not matter to idiots. They still insist I have no idea what I'm talking about. However, an updated General Social Survey came out, and it revealed something quite interesting about casual sex between men and women. And what did it reveal, you ask? An astounding 86% of men and women who engage in casual sex with somebody they call a friend or an acquaintance. Pretty significant degree of copulation between just friends. Yet again, proving me right. Morons, stay on my comments.
Juicy! Now, ladies and gentlemen, the graph that Mr. Q has actually has shown up on Instagram came from the article writer Alexander from DatePsychology.com that titles "How Many Scrambled Egg Partners did men and women have in 2022?" Yes, six. You know what I'm saying? Round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. Okay? And based on what Alexander has done, he has a strong background, like you, in psychology, and he's currently a graduate student, if I'm not mistaken, that details in cognitive neuroscience of the brain. Right? So, he actually got his information straight from Dr. Nicholas Wolfinger at the Institute of Family Studies, in which he actually analyzed the data again around 2022, looking into some of his stuff. And what he basically utilized for the data that he found is some very advanced statistical software, i.e. SAS, SPSS, or STATA, right? None of those softwares are really cheap. They're not free to download. They're not free to buy. They're actually very, very expensive to obtain. And in some cases, you may have to be dealing with a monthly fee starting in like the $100 range. Or in some cases, if you have to try to go through Azure doing like SAS, it could be a bit musty, which I'm actually starting to learn SAS as well and actually see how that operates, which could basically be a pain in the ass. But you could deal with like a pay-as-you-go kind of template, or you could deal with like a very feisty or pricey monthly bill when dealing with these types of software. Alright, so with that, I want to give Alexander credit for actually doing all his research and actually getting all the numbers all set up involved that he has straight from the general survey that he literally has pointed out, which is actually a good thing. Now, again, while I commend Q for actually digging into his findings and actually coming with the sources, and I'm not faulting Q for this one at all. Let me be very clear. This is not Q's fault when it comes to be brought up. My issue with those graphs are, again, no numbers of sample size, right? There's no sample size numbers whatsoever. We don't fully know the number of people that have participated in those surveys. Actually, then again, scratch that. The General Social Survey actually has the actual number of people mainly participating in it. The fuck up mainly is Alexander actually forgot to put the number of people that partook in each of those graphs so that we have like a thorough idea of how many people partook in the survey. And we don't know if it's actually deliberate or not. Assuming that it is, it could definitely be misleading. It could be misinformation literally to the general public. So for instance, if I go with this constant graph that I'm pointing out here that Q mainly pointed out, or if people actually having casual seggs with okay, we see here blue men, pink women, about 59% of the men mainly fucking, 57% of the women mainly fucking their friends, 27% actually having fucking their acquaintances of men, 31% mainly fucking their male acquaintances, and then you got others, you know, who knows if they doing strangers, prostitutes, random thoughts, or even escorts. That's how they label them as the other. Now, again, we don't thoroughly know the true number of how many people has partook in the survey, and clearly it's not 300 million people up in the United States of America. Let me get that very clear. They didn't really get anybody. The people that actually did work on the general survey actually took a full year to record all those data sets, mainly online. It's how they literally been on the field, hitting up every major city, every rural city they have, like, known to man, when every day is literally going to be like a fuckwater time to literally deal with, which may actually try having burn them literally years just to try and get that information. I understand why they chose to do it on the internet. So obviously you're not going to have 300 million people literally partaking in this type of survey. You'll probably have like some people actually that range up in the hundreds and maybe thousands, maybe 10,000s. But 100,000s, it will definitely take a while because it requires a lot of data running. It requires a lot of hard drive burning. It requires a lot of memory to literally be ran on a computer, which may take some time, which may take some days, unless it has like a shit ton of memory, like a big time Google Drive computer that you have up in your office that you mainly have to run. Or if you run it in the cloud, that may allows that type of stored data to really run through that, like a big data set. They run millions upon millions upon millions of data sets in order to actually get the outcome that you need. That's how those folks up in the GSS mainly do it, based on what has been going on. So in this graph here, it could be like 1,000 people mainly partaking in the survey. It could be like 10,000 people partaking in the survey. It could be 100 people participating in that type of survey, right? Or 1 million, 200,000, 300,000. We don't fully know. This stuff could literally be misleading, and not only that, it's also disingenuous because it can literally fool the average Joe that think, that's a little bit superficial, a little bit shallow-minded, thinking, this is simple graphs. I'm assuming that most Americans mainly doing a lot of fucking. It's like, man, ain't the way they used to be. Yet in reality, when it comes to a practical sense, it's a lot more deeper than we think. It's much more complicated than we think. As we all know, relationships are extremely complicated than we all know, based on various mindsets, based on various human beings thinking like various thoughts and all this other stuff. Could be very complex on how a human being operates, whether it's a man or whether it's a woman. That's the only issue that I have with this whole ordeal. And this is coming from the alleged 1% of the country who has a very thorough background in engineering and mathematics. I received my undergraduate degree in civil engineering, and I received my master's in applied mathematics and statistics, as well as being a PhD candidate in Howard University for about 1.5 years. So I've been knee deep up in the game of the STEM field for a very, 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 very long time. Now let's get to what Dr. Wolfencher actually has set up to show certain examples here.
Versus the guy she tells you not to worry about. You're not going to need to eat scrambled eggs like this anymore. From now on, this should be the only way you do scrambled eggs. Get hold of some good quality eggs. Crack them into a bowl and beat them together. Add some cold butter into a cold pan, dip the eggs in. Now the key here is to do it on a low heat, keep stirring and take your time. We don't want to have any overcooked bits of egg. Now add your salt. Just look how good those look. Creamy, silky and cooked to perfection. If you want to stick with your dry, crumbly scrambled eggs, that's fine by me, but I think this is the best way to go.
Juicy! Now, if we look at Dr. Wolfinger's article with his graphs, you notice that he always has the n equaling the sample size for the number of people that actually participated. And yes, his stuff is weighted, but at least we have an idea of who partook in the survey and who got themselves involved. And this took place over a period of time here as well. We're not going to actually get too deep into that. Again, sample size. Alright, you see here. Sample size, again. You see all of this that's there. You know, that's the proper way of how you actually lay out a graph and how you actually present a graph. Now, to close out, in this whole ordeal to the general public that are actually making the whole ordeal here, as well as Mr. Q, I know like you're definitely legit and everything, and I commend you for all that you do. Even though I don't agree in some takes that you have, I think you are legit. I think you are definitely needed for folks up in this world that actually want to try and get better in communication as well as relationships, and we definitely need people like you up in the world. My only issue is that you have to thoroughly make sure you thoroughly verify the information that's actually handed out to you and that's actually given, including never forgetting the sample size of how many people partook in the information, just so that we don't get deceived, we don't get misled, or we don't become disingenuous based on the whole graph that's actually shown. Because it can literally deceive. We don't actually know the true number of how many may think this way. Now, it's possible that a lot do think this way, and we definitely can't take that lightly. And again, the statistics that have been presented up in the chart that QS presented, as well as the stuff that you mainly see up in the article, are clearly the end results. And yes, they are the outcomes that are basically true. The issue is the why. You know, they didn't fully explain the why part whenever Alexander actually did his findings towards a graph. Why did the findings came out the way that it needs to be? And because they had the lack of sample size that's there, that type of data could be misleading and could be disingenuous. So you guys literally have to be very, very careful on how you process the information, on why you should be definitely practicing discernment, and also why details are everything when it actually comes to finding research, when it comes to finding data, why so that you won't be misinformed whenever you make a thorough decision on how to better improve your life. Alright? And I'm going to definitely leave it at that. And to close off with the folks that actually listen up in this video, to both women and men, you are unique, you are needed, you are wanted, and you are impactful. And I'm gonna leave it at that.
Hello, welcome to day 5 of Around the World in 80 Eggs, and today we're making good old scrambled eggs. There are a gazillion methods to making the perfect scrambled eggs. Well, for me, I like to crack 2 eggs into a bowl, add a dash of milk, whisking everything well thoroughly, and then heating up a small frying pan on the smallest stove that you've got. Melt some butter and pour in the egg mixture. Now with the heat turned down low, you want to slowly scramble the eggs towards the center, a bit like this. You got to keep going for a couple of minutes. This is the most time-consuming part, but it's going to make sure that your eggs are nice and silky. I like to turn the heat off at this point because I know the residual heat will keep cooking it for a little longer, and then I can just go and toast some bread to serve. Easy peasy.
Juicy!